If you're a fan of sports manga, or even just stories about personal ambition and growth, then Blue Lock should absolutely be on your radar. It's one of the most unique and intense series I've come across in recent years, and it's challenging everything that you thought you knew about soccer, and about what it takes to be the best. Blue Lock is centered around a brutal, high-stakes program designed to create the world's greatest striker. But unlike most sports stories that emphasize teamwork, collaboration, and the bonds between players, Blue Lock is built on a radical idea. That egoism, the ruthless pursuit of individual excellence and confidence, is what separates champions from the rest. At first glance, this might sound like a weird, almost toxic premise for a sport that's famously a team game. But as you dive deeper into the story, you realize Blue Lock is far more nuanced. It explores the tension between selfishness and teamwork, between identity and conformity, and the cost of chasing greatness in a culture that often prizes harmony over individual glory. The story begins in 2018, right after the Japanese national team's disappointing 16th place finish in the FIFA World Cup. The Japanese Football Association is desperate for a change, and they bring in a mysterious, almost eccentric coach named Igo Jinpachi. His plan? To create an elite training camp, Blue Lock, that will forge Japan's first world-class striker. Someone with the ego and killer instinct needed to win games single-handedly. But this isn't your typical training camp. Blue Lock is more like a prison. Dozens of promising young forwards from all over Japan are locked inside, forced to compete against each other in elimination games where only one team will survive. Fail, and you're banned from ever representing Japan again. What follows is an intense, psychological, and sometimes surreal journey, where players are pushed beyond their limits, stripped down to their core selves, and forced to confront who they really are. At the center of the story is Yoichi Isagi, a talented but indecisive forward whose team lost a crucial qualifying match because he hesitated to take a shot and instead passed the ball. Throughout the series, Isagi reflects on that moment, wondering what could have happened if he'd been more selfish and more willing to assert himself. When he enters Blue Lock, Isagi learns that what he was missing wasn't just skill or athleticism, it was ego, the confidence, the selfishness, and the obsession with winning no matter what. This is where Blue Lock breaks from the mold of traditional sports manga. Instead of glorifying selflessness or teamwork, it argues that a striker must be selfish to succeed. And not selfish in a shallow, arrogant way, but selfish in the sense of understanding and owning who you are, being fully committed to your own path, no matter what the cost. This idea clashes dramatically with Japanese cultural norms, which tend to value collectivism, harmony, and not standing out from the group. As Igo Jinpachi points out, Japan excels at nearly every position on the field, except striker. Why? Because strikers need that singular obsession, that ego to break away from the pack and make decisive plays. It's a bold critique of not just Japanese soccer, but Japanese society as a whole. The program isn't just about training better athletes, it's about challenging deep-rooted cultural ideas of identity and success. In a society that often pressures people to fit molds, Blue Lock celebrates individuality and defiance. The players aren't just fighting for goals on the pitch. They're fighting to stay true to themselves while navigating a world that demands conformity. This tension plays out brilliantly through the characters. You watch these young athletes evolve, not just physically, but psychologically. They're forced to shed their own ways of thinking and embrace new, sometimes uncomfortable truths about themselves. Isagi, for example, starts off unsure, relying heavily on his field's vision and instincts rather than raw power or aggression. But over time, he learns to balance his predictive skills with a growing sense of ego. He begins to take more risks, to claim his space, and to trust in his own ability, even if that means disrupting the traditional idea of a team player. What makes Blue Lock truly compelling is that it doesn't stop at glorifying selfishness. Instead, it shows that egoism and teamwork aren't mutually exclusive. The best players don't just think about themselves. They channel their ego in ways that lift their whole team, that force others to raise their level of play. It's a delicate balance, and the story uses this to keep the tension high and the stakes personal. Another thing that sets Blue Lock apart is how it embraces the over-the-top, almost absurd elements of its premise. The football prison concept is wild. The extreme stakes feel more like something out of a battle shonen than a sports manga. But these heightened elements create a sense of urgency and intensity that keep you hooked. It's less about the nitty-gritty soccer tactics, and more about the psychology of what makes a transcendent athlete. The mental battles, the strategies of ego, the raw emotions. For anyone wondering how this all fits in with real-world soccer, Blue Lock taps into something very real. Strikers have to be selfish. Jurgen Klopp, One of the world's top soccer managers famously said, "Strikers have to be selfish. I have never met an unselfish striker." He was talking about Mo Salah, one of the deadliest forwards in the Premier League, who's been in contention for multiple golden boots. This is exactly what Blue Lock dramatizes. The ruthless mindset required to be a world-class scorer. You can be a nice person off the pitch, but when it's game time, your focus has to be on one thing: scoring. Beyond the action and a psychological drama, Blue Lock is also a story about identity, about discovering who you are when everything is on the line. Ego in this context isn't just selfishness or arrogance. It's about understanding yourself, owning your strengths and weaknesses, and not letting outside forces shape your destiny. Throughout the story, the characters grapple with external expectations and pressures, but what makes them survive is their ability to stay true to their ego, their authentic selves. If you're a fan of series like Haikyuu or Kuroko no Basket, which emphasize bonds, communication, and cooperation, Blue Lock would feel like a breath of fresh and sometimes shocking air, for better or worse. It's unapologetically intense, sometimes brutal, but always driven by character psychology and emotional stakes. And finally, Blue Lock isn't just a manga for football fans. It's a story about what it takes to push beyond limits, to fight for your dreams, and to do so on your own terms. The journey of Yoichi Isagi and the other Blue Lock candidates is a thrilling exploration of ambition and the messy, complicated nature of success. It challenges us to ask ourselves, how much ego is necessary to win, and can you truly be great without losing parts of yourself? So whether you're into sports, character-driven drama, or just looking for something fresh and electrifying, Blue Lock deserves a spot on your reading list. It's a roller coaster of emotions, mind games, and high-octane competition that could redefine the sports manga genre as we know it. If you've already read Blue Lock or just want to jump in, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about egoism as a driving force in sports? Is selfishness a strength at times? Or is it always a flaw? I'd love to hear your take. And thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more manga breakdowns and storytelling analysis. See you next time.